Hi everyone, this is OCD Live. I'm Ali Grayman. We're going to be answering some questions about OCD. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. If you have a question that you would like me to answer on the next show, please leave it below any of the videos and let's get started.
So the first question is, does complete recovery mean you still get the thoughts but they do not bother you, or does it mean that you don't get them at all? The complete recovery means that you don't get the thoughts at all. So, for example, if you have religious OCD, and whenever you pray, you get thoughts of maybe I'm not praying right, maybe I have to pray again. Once you get over OCD, when you pray, you will not get those thoughts. So when faced with a trigger, you will no longer react with fear. You will not notice it as a trigger anymore. Sometimes what happens is the person will notice it as, oh wow, this used to trigger me before. But it's funny at this point, it's not triggering, it's not scary. It's just a memory of that it used to trigger you, but it doesn't give you a negative feeling of anxiety. So full recovery means full recovery. You won't get the thoughts anymore. So the next question is, what can we do when the thoughts enter our mind that are so distressing we can't seem to let them in or accept them? You have to accept the thoughts as part of OCD. So if you're having thoughts that are like harm related or anything that's really kind of unacceptable to you, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are accepting these thoughts as OCD. You don't have to accept them as being okay. OCD thoughts can be quite scary, and it's not to suggest that how can I accept the thought of killing somebody? How could they accept that as being okay? You're not accepting it as being okay. You're accepting this thought about killing somebody as being a part of your OCD and not a part of reality. So that's what people mean when they say you have to accept the thoughts. You have to accept the thoughts that are for being there. They're there because you have OCD. You can't make them go away instantly. So by accepting them, you're giving them room in your mind, but at the same time, you're not giving them any validity. You're viewing them as accepting a symptom. When you have a cold, you accept the fact that you have runny nose. You can't get rid of it instantly, right? So you accept it as being there, but you don't put so much emphasis on it. Same thing with this. So yes, the thoughts are distressing, but running away from them is bad. Doing something to prevent them is bad. Chasing the feeling of relief is bad. Just allow them to be there. Yes, you won't feel great, but you're living parallel to it. By giving them no reaction, you're showing your mind that these thoughts are no longer important to you, and the mind will stop sending them to you. So next question. Thank you, Ali. I was just starting to deal with setbacks, and now I feel better knowing that I have to be strongest at the beginning when I am at my weakest. Yeah, I did a video. This was a reply to the video I had about recovery and setbacks. And you guys, setbacks happen when you do OCD recovery. You are not a robot. You are a human being. You have the life outside of OCD stuff. And when that life gets complicated, when you get stressed out, when you get sidetracked, all of this will affect your OCD recovery because you lose focus. And if you lose focus on OCD recovery, you start to let the thoughts in. So it's not a perfect progress, it's up and down, but you have to make sure that you are mostly going up, because if you're up and down 50-50, right, then you're kind of confusing your brain further by one day saying that these thoughts matter to you and the next day saying that they don't matter. So you're going back and forth, right? So, but if you're, like I say in every video, if you're averaging 80-20, 90-10, even 70-30 is not bad, but trying to 70%, 80% of the time saying, no, this is OCD, I'm not paying attention to it. And if sometimes, things kind of slide, that's okay. You'll get better at it as you go. In the beginning, it is always the hardest. So even if in the beginning you're starting out with a very low percentage, but you're fighting it and you're moving forward in your recovery, you'll see that percentage will start going up as you progress through the recovery. And I just wanted to read this comment to you guys because this is important. Person writes, this is it now. I am done seeking reassurance. I am done giving into my OCD. If you and your clients fully recovered, then I can too. I did so well today not seeking any reassurance and just letting the thoughts in. As much as I feel guilty for letting these thoughts in, I have to remember that this is OCD and carry on with my day and focus on my recovery. This is my path to recovery. I can and will recover. Mark my words. And see, this is the person that will recover because the mindset is there. The mind is set on recovery. The person sees a goal and they're moving towards that goal. And some days you might be running towards that goal, and some days you might be crawling towards that goal, and some days you might not make any movements at all, but you're still progressing. Even on the days that you're not moving, you're still trying. You're trying your best. It's just a hard day. Don't beat yourself up when you're having bad days, and do as much as you can when you're having a good day. And if you do start to slide back, don't allow yourself to slide for so long. Yes, you made the mistake, you paid attention to the thought, the reassurance happened, then the thought got very severe. Okay, put all of that aside. No more reassurance. I don't care what the thoughts are telling me. It has to do with my topic, so that's it. And just picking yourself up and moving yourself forward. Great job. This is the correct attitude, honestly. The next question is, what is false memory OCD? I always keep doubting my memory, replaying the situation in my head over and over like a scene, image, or what somebody said, or trying to get it exactly right. Or else I'll feel the memory is false and I made it up, and then I try to reassure myself that it is genuine, or I'd feel terribly anxious. Does that make sense? Is this what you're referring to? So yes, this is false memory OCD. It's slightly different type than what usually people experience with false memory OCD, but it is definitely still false memory OCD. Usually the person is worried, what if something bad happened in the past, and trying to figure it out. But what you're doing is, as far as I understand based on the question, having a memory of something actually being real and then doubting whether it was real or not. So it's kind of the opposite. But because it still has to do with memory and you're doubting that memory, it basically makes it false memory OCD. So yeah, it still would fall into that category. And I mean, guys, don't get so worked up about which category your OCD falls into. The recovery process is the same. The reason why people put these things in categories is because it's easier to explain specific reassurance that the person may be doing, specific avoidances, how to react to specific thoughts. So you can narrow it down right to the situation that's bothering the person. So it becomes a lot more tailored, and the recovery is a lot better because the person knows exactly how to react. But at the end of the day, you have to disregard to feel better. No matter if it's religious OCD, harm OCD, relationship OCD, whatever. The more you react, the worse you will feel. The less you react, the better you will feel. So this is not different than any other one. So next question is, Ali, is OCD and schizophrenia linked? A lot of people say it is, and some people say it isn't. This has sent my fear of schizophrenia sky high, and I am in a bad state of panic and anxiety right now. So the problem here is when you're analyzing. The more you analyze what this person said or that person said, the more anxiety you will get. Schizophrenia OCD is a very, very common type of OCD, and the more you feed it, the worse you will feel. And you can actually get symptoms that will seem like it has to do with schizophrenia, but they're OCD symptoms. Your mind is trying to give you triggers. So you'll, hear something ruffling and you'll be like, oh, did I hear a voice? Or whatever most common kind of things that are symptoms of schizophrenia are, you will think you have them. But it is only OCD, and you have to start disregarding. And the more you disregard, the more you will see that, no, you don't have schizophrenia. Yes, this is a common OCD. You can move on, Don't allow yourself to continue to try to figure it out, because that's absolutely the worst thing you can do. The more you try to figure it out, the worse you will get. So the next question is, hi Ali, I'm so thankful for your answers. They help me a lot. Oh, that's really nice to hear. But I have 2 questions. I have harm OCD theme. It's mainly towards my family and partially about myself and others. I was able to accept the thoughts about myself and others, and now they're almost never there. but not the harm thoughts about my family, although I was feeling better last month in general and mostly disregarding them. But now I'm unable to accept these OCD thoughts about them because I find it very difficult to accept such horrible thoughts. So what should I do if I can't accept it? I feel like if I accept them, I will approve that horrifying action in my subconscious, and that scares me. I also have been emotionally distant from my family for a while because I really cared about them before this whole thing started, so my feelings are not the same anymore. Should I do something to change that and regain the love that I used to have for my family, or just accept the fact that the things have changed and that OCD is depriving me of joy of loving my family? Okay, so this is a great question. So let me answer first the acceptance thing. Again, just like I answered in the first question, you're not accepting the thoughts as something real. So you're not saying that the action of doing something bad is okay and you accept it. You're saying that you have OCD thoughts about that action and you accept that you have OCD thoughts. So you're not accepting something bad to be okay. You're accepting that you have OCD. That's what they mean by acceptance. They don't mean that you should accept thoughts that are unacceptable to you. Now, in terms of the family thing and feeling distant, when you have OCD about somebody, it is very common for you to distance yourself from that person or those people. Because you feel safe when you distance yourself, right? So it's an avoidance behavior. And the more you avoid, the more you start to feel distant, and that feeling of what if this, what if that, makes you feel like you are becoming more separated from the people who you are worrying about. This is very common when you have OCD. This will go away on its own, but again, you have to stop avoiding your family, because the more you avoid them, the more you distance yourself, the more you do all this, not only are you distancing yourself, but you're also making your OCD worse, because you're showing your mind that this is important to you, that there is real danger here when in fact there isn't. So in short, with acceptance, right? You're accepting the OCD and that you have these thoughts because of OCD. You're not accepting these thoughts for what they are, because it's not the same thing for somebody who has OCD to have these thoughts as somebody who has these thoughts because they're a bad person. That's two different things entirely. So you're accepting these thoughts as part of your OCD, and that's perfectly okay. That doesn't impede morals. So you're having OCD. Part of your OCD is having these thoughts. That's perfectly acceptable. But in order for those thoughts to stop bothering you and for them to go away, what you need to do is refuse any more reassurance, avoidance, and any kind of behavior that shows your mind that you're scared. So next question I have is, when trying to stop reassurance, we feel severe stress and frustration. What is the solution? So it's important to remember that when you're stopping reassurance, you will feel uncomfortable. And when you are doing reassurance, you're doing it to chase that feeling of anxiety or relief, to feel good again, right? Which is understandable, but it's counterproductive to OCD recovery because you're doing it out of fear. I'm so scared, I need to make sure that I'm safe, I need to make sure that everything is okay. And the more you do this, the more you're gonna not feel okay because your mind just keeps sending you the thoughts. So the feeling of stress, the feeling of frustration is okay, and it's important for you to remind yourself why you're doing this. Yes, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. So you're making, okay, you had the situation, you feel like you need to seek reassurance, right? So you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to choose not to seek reassurance. I know I'm going to feel uncomfortable when I choose not to do reassurance. And that's okay because I'm in the process of recovery. That is what recovery is. So you're walking yourself through it and why you're doing it. So you're not expecting to feel comfortable, because I think it's that expectation of, well, I should be feeling good and I need to chase that feeling of feeling good that creates the stress and frustration. So next question I have is, hi, I have HOCD, health, and many other themes, but one of my big ones is a fear of developing schizophrenia. Is this common? By the way, I really like the videos, you explain things so clearly. Thank you. Well, that's very sweet. Yes, schizophrenia is a very, very common OCD fear. So you have to react to it like any other thing. It's common to have fears that are related to health issues, and for some reason schizophrenia is a very common OCD fear. I don't know why that is. Maybe because I find that OCD grabs onto what we're most scared of. And schizophrenia is something that we hear a lot about in terms of the news and just generally when you're talking about mental disorders, mental issues, right? What we hear about is depression and schizophrenia. Those are two very common OCD topics. Is what if I'm developing a depression? What if I'm developing schizophrenia? So it stands from the fear, right? And yeah, you have to treat it like any other type of OCD. That, yeah, I'm having these thoughts. Who cares? This is OCD. I'm not reacting. And as you're going through it that way, you will see that you'll start to feel better because there's nothing really behind this. This is all OCD playing tricks, you know? So even if you feel like, oh, I think I heard something. I think I have this symptom of schizophrenia. I think I have that symptom. It's not real symptoms. This is OCD mimicking the symptoms in order to get you to react. So once OCD goes away, these things will go away as well because they're only there because you're powering them up, you know, in an OCD sense. Not to give you reassurance, but that's what it is. So next comment I have is the person says, going to a psychiatrist tomorrow, hope he can help recommend some good CBT professional, even might buy your program to complement therapy. Okay, and I just wanted to, it's not really a question, but I do want to address this comment, is when you're going to a psychiatrist, you have to make sure if you're choosing to go down that route, okay? Psychiatrists generally are, because the difference between psychiatrist and psychologist in short, right, is the prescription, right? So psychiatrists tend to be more on the medication side of things, not only, but they tend to go down that route more. A psychologist, as far as I know, I don't even think they can write a prescription. I'm not sure if they can, but they tend to be on the therapy type of stuff. Now, in terms of so if they're pushing pills on you, just remind yourself that it's still your choice. You know, they might say, you know, you have to, otherwise you won't recover. You know what? People recover every day without medication. If you choose to do medication in addition to it, you know, that's fine. But don't be bullied into it by somebody who thinks they know more than you. You know, because a lot of the times they know more than you generally, but they don't know, like in terms of medical field, right? But they don't know more than you specifically in terms of OCD, you know? So they might know how the medication affects you and all of this, but you are an expert in your disorder. And that's what I say in every single show, that you need to become an expert in your disorder in order to recover. And a psychiatrist, they read it from a book. You lived it from real life, you know? So take what they're saying on board, but take it as an opinion, not as, you know, solid gold truth, right? And the second part of the comment, the person said, hope you can recommend some good CBT professional. So in terms of CBT is like an umbrella term. It can, because, you know, cognitive, you know, it can go, you can put anything under that label, pretty much, you know, in terms of dealing with the mind. So you have to make sure that what exactly is involved in the CBT. Because if they're, okay, it's CBT, but really it's talk therapy, well, how was your childhood kind of stuff, that's not going to help you recover. So your CBT needs to involve ERP, exposure and response prevention. That's very critical to recovery. If it doesn't involve ERP, I would say don't even bother. You know, because you need to be exposed and then preventing the response to train your mind. And then mindfulness, all of that, you know, stuff in addition to that. But ERP needs to be almost primary to all that. So it's very, very important. And in terms of you're saying that you can do my program to complement therapy, a lot of my clients do that. So they'll have the therapist, like the psychiatrist or psychologist, and then they also do my program to complement, and the two work together very well. So yeah, you can definitely do that. But just be very careful when you're choosing a professional, because sometimes, I hear a lot of bad stories about choosing the wrong person. They say the wrong thing, the person gets triggered. So just be very careful, and don't take their opinion to mean as something, monumental. They are a person just like you. They're not better than you. Their opinion does not necessarily weigh more than yours, because like I said, even though they're trained in this, you lived this, so you know better than they do about OCD. They might know in terms of therapy and all of that, right? But it's, just take it on board because they read it from a book. I just want to kind of point that out to make sure that you are okay in terms of who you're seeking. So the next question I have is, I have had PRO for 30 years. I'm trying your methods. Anytime I worry or feel guilt, I analyze instantly to make sure I didn't do anything wrong or improper. Sometimes I delay it, but it's hard to just say it's OCD and move on. Sometimes I can at work. I keep feeling the pull or the urge to reassure or analyze to make sure. How do I fight the constant doubt and anxiety and not give in? I get stuck. Thank you for all that you do. Oh, that's very sweet. Okay, so the way you do the reassurance refusal and fighting that urge is by saying that you're making a choice. So instead of saying, even saying that I trust myself, it's okay. It's okay to say, but it's better to just say that I choose not to react. Choice does not require proof. Choice does not require being safe. You're just making a choice. You tried to make a choice to do the reassurance all the time. That didn't work out well. So now you're making a choice just not to do anything that has to do with your theme. And you're staying firm in that choice no matter what thoughts you get, no matter how severe they are, how real they feel. Doesn't matter. You're simply making a choice not to give in. And it's your choice. You're entitled to make it. It doesn't matter what the consequences are. If there is consequences, then you'll deal with the consequences when they happen, right? Because that's kind of the OCD's answer to this. Well, what if you're wrong? And what if everything goes bad because I'm making this choice? Well, when that goes bad, then you'll address it. But right now it's not going bad, and it's not... I mean, you'll be the first one for whom it went bad, right? So because of that, you're choosing not to react and sticking with that. Because when you're saying that I'm making a choice, you're coming from a huge position of power. And that really helps the recovery, rather than saying, okay, I'm going to disregard. Okay, I'm trying not to pay attention, which is kind of a very... fear-driven action. So you're still making a choice, but you're coming at it from a lot of fear, rather than you're standing strong saying, okay, I'm making a choice not to react. And I had another question to the same thing, basically, that how do you deal with uncertainty? And that's how you deal with it. That the uncertainty is there and you're living parallel to it while choosing not to react to the trigger and to the uncertainty. So yes, that all is there, but you are here choosing not to react to it because you know reacting doesn't work.
So we've come to the end of the show. If you have any more questions, please visit youhaveocd.com. There's a private recovery program there with me. There's ebooks, there's information on recovery, there's lots of information on there. There's also audiobook rentals available through this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.